Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and in this short video we're going to discuss the massive missile attack that the Russians launched during the previous night of the local time. If you take a look at the Russian sources map, you're going to see a lot of fire icons above the territory of Ukraine. There were explosions mainly of uranium on the north of Ukraine, in Kiev and in the vicinity and the regions around Kiev. The Ukrainians published a lot of video and photo confirmations of those explosions, of working of their air defense system. And the Ukrainians are saying that mainly they managed to shut down the drones that were attacking Kiev, but it's about the Ukrainian side. The Russian sources are saying that all the targets were reached by the uraniums, by the drones. Another interesting area with explosions and missile attack was the Bakhmut and the vicinity of this town. The Russians launched another missile attack against Slaviansk and Kramatorsk, and as we know, these two towns are the main positions of location of Ukrainian reserves that they're using to send in direction of Belogorovka and Bakhmut itself. Furthermore, these two towns are located along the railroad station and along the railroad way, so this also logistic hub, and where the Ukrainians are trying to keep and collect the munition, and after that, after some kind of sorting of this munition, they are sending this weapon to Bakhmut. Furthermore, another missile attack, not just missile, but the Russians are saying that there were another guided bomb attack in direction of Chasov Yar. And in this case, the Russians were trying to suppress and destroy the Ukrainian artillery systems and the Ukrainians' eyes that were located on the hill. And after the suppressing of this area, furthermore, the Ukrainian sources are saying that something terrible, something horrible took place, were happening in Chasov Yar during those attacks. Later the Russians published some photo and video confirmations of the results of those explosions. But anyway, after that, the Russians, after they managed to suppress the Ukrainians' artillery systems, artillery positions, they launched their offensive operation, and the Ukrainians also are saying that that was something big, something terrible, and something that could bring a significant result. The Russians were attacking all over the front line in Bakhmut, and they were attacking in direction somewhere. There was fierce clashes in the vicinity of the post office and the Olympic school. The Russians managed to enter the western citadel, and that currently there are fierce clashes inside of this area. If we take a look at the Russian Western sources map, this blue cloud was the recent progress of the Russians that they managed to capture, and starting from this area, the Russians were trying to attack from the south. The Russians were trying to attack in direction of the exploded, destroyed building. If you remember, a few days ago they published the video, and the Russians were trying to attack right in the interception of the streets of Dekabristov Street and the street of Livanevskovo. Furthermore, the Russians, as you can see, reported that there were during the night fierce clashes on the streets in the vicinity of the Medvedevo Street and Cherniakovskovo Street. There were no updates about the fact that the Russians captured the Olympic school, but the reports saying that there's a clashes on the Medvedevo and Cherniakovskovo streets means that probably the Russians are trying to encircle the Ukrainians who are currently located in this Olympic school. I'm not sure the real number, but I believe that there was a very powerful garrison of the Ukrainians, maybe a few hundreds of soldiers who were trying to keep this bridgehead and not to allow the Russians to connect with their forces who are currently trying to push along the 05-06 road in direction of Kromova. Possibly today we're going to receive more updates about the Russian counter-offensive operation in this area, and possibly the Russians will be able to capture more blocks, and possibly I assume that the Ukrainians may try to start the let's say breaking through operation in direction of Chasov Yar, because the situation for them is critical. And another interesting area of missile attack was Odessa. If you take a look at this map, you're gonna see that there are a lot of icons of fire. The Russians are saying that they attacked the Ukrainian position in Dachna. In this area, this area is the main base of the Ukrainians, where they're trying to train their forces in this small water reservoir. This small lake or something like this. The Ukrainians are using them for trainings of like crossing the river operations and so on. So to this another accumulation of Ukrainian forces that was attacked by the Russians. Furthermore, the Russians made another attack in direction of airport Shkolny, this bridgehead that Ukrainians are using to launch their own drones in direction of Crimea. The second attack was somewhere in the south of Odessa, and as you can see, this is the warehouses, and these warehouses are located very close to the railroad. And there were another two important attacks, the places of attack. The Russians destroyed the bridge just on the southwest of Odessa. Let's go back to the Western sources map. So the Russians destroy this bridge in the settlement by the name of Mayaki, and the second bridge was destroyed in Zatoka. These two bridges the Ukrainians were using to get support and supply from Moldova and from Romania. Mainly the railroad that goes through the bridge along Zatoka was used as the bridge that Ukrainians were using to send the fuel from Moldova and from Romania, and the northern one was used by the Ukrainians to get some Western weapon along just using the regular trucks. So as you can see, currently these bridges are destroyed. The bridge that located in the north, just a regular bridge. I believe the Ukrainians will have to spend more time to repair this bridge. And when talking about the southern bridge, this is the railroad bridge, and this is, I believe, the third attack since the beginning of the special military operation, when the Russians were trying to damage this bridge or destroy it. As I understand, both the previous two attempts were failed. Yes, the Russians managed to damage, but as I understand, the Ukrainians restored the bridge, repaired, and currently there is another attack. There were no video or photo confirmation of the damage that the Russians dealt. But anyway, we understand that the Russians are trying to prepare themselves and just to be on the safe side before the Ukrainians' greatest counter-offensive operation. By those attacks, they managed to reduce the level of support of Ukrainians with fuel. Now the Western countries and Ukraine need to remake and change their plans and change their logistic architecture. Furthermore, we see that the Russians attacked the positions of newly created brigades in Odessa. There are, as you can see, according to the Western deployment map, 38th Marine Brigade and 37th, and furthermore there are also 22nd, 41st and 21st Brigade. So as you can see, the Russians damaged heavily the Ukrainians in this area. And the last area of Russian attacks is the area Nikolaev and Dnipro-Zaporozhye. There were also attacks, and mainly the Russians were trying to hit the positions of newly created brigades that the Ukrainians are planning to send as waves of the counter-offensive operation. We still haven't received any picture, video or number confirmations of the Ukrainian losses, but I believe that those losses were the heaviest since the beginning of the special military operation. Today we are going to wait for some numbers, and we are going to wait for some good news for the Russians as a result of their fierce fightings and storming operation in Bakhmut. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.